Welcome to another podcast of the Constitution Manchester United. I promised you guys yesterday in my last video that I was going to come out with a video today, which is tonight. Examining ex-Manchester United player, referring his time when he was a Manchester United player. And I said that I was going to do a video on him whether today or Friday. So I wanted to be a man of my word and come out with that tonight. So yeah, let's get into it because I don't want this video to be long. When Cristiano Ronaldo left in 2009, there were rumors as to who was going to be the replacement of this big gap, because you have to understand that Ronaldo was cementing himself as not only one of the best players in the world, because he was on top of his game. He was actually the best player in the world at the time, because Ronaldo won the Ballon d'Or in 2008, and that is when he was supposed to leave Manchester United, but him go to Sir Alex Ferguson a favour and signed for one more season, and then he did his service and he left for Real Madrid, who has been knocking on his door since 2006 after his beef. I won't say beef, but after his dispute with Rooney in the 2006 World Cup. So he basically answered to them in 2009 and left. Now, there was a big hole left in the attack of Manchester United. Persons were asking who is going to replace this world-class player for talent, and he's gone to Real Madrid. He's been lured to Real Madrid. We know that Real Madrid was going to get him eventually. It's been 3 years they've been knocking on his door. 3 years. And it took them a while, but they actually signed Ronaldo for 94. No, that was for Kaka. They signed him for at least 80 million euros, which was like the highest transfer at the time, I believe, or 94 million. Somewhere there about. I'm not so good with numbers, so you have to forgive a brother. Plus, I'm not a historian. So, but what I do know is that he signed for a hefty fee, which was the most at the time. Manchester United was just loaned. No, they just sold Tevez to their rivals Manchester City. Understand, Tevez was not a permanent signing for Manchester United. He was a loanee for 2 seasons from West Ham. He went back to West Ham. No, he didn't went back to West Ham. The deal was done for him to go to City on a permanent deal. So West Ham, of course, was in the mix. But yeah, he went to Man City, and that left even more of a bigger gap of deficit in the attack for Manchester United, which left us with Berbatov and Wayne Rooney, of course. Ryan Giggs wasn't much of a wide player anymore. He was playing more centrally. We had Jason Park, who was playing central, can play wide, but that wasn't his main bread and butter. We had Nani, who was coming into his own slowly, but we needed another attacker to add balance to the attack. So, of course, persons were asking who is going to replace not only Cristiano Ronaldo's boots, which is probably size 13.5, but who is going to, be the next striker? Are we going to sign another striker? So Alex Ferguson saw that he signed a winger that was local, had experience in the Premier League. And of course, this came out of left field because persons were expecting this transfer. So Alex Ferguson went to Wigan Athletic and go sign a winger named Antonio Valencia to replace Cristiano Ronaldo. Persons were, I think so, Antonio Valencia was in the Premier League in 07-08, yeah, with Wigan Athletic. Yeah, he was. And then he signed with Manchester United in 2009-2010 after those 2 seasons, I believe, or after 1 season when he was with them with Wigan Athletic. So persons were asking themselves, okay, who is this Ecuadorian right here? So I've never seen this dude play football. What's his capabilities? Yes, he looks like an athletic dude, but what is he any good? Is this your king? Is this the replacement for your king that you sold to Real Madrid? That's the king of kings, apparently, in football. You're going to sign this brethren from Wigan Athletic that probably just gained back promotion from relegation. I know they're in the Premier League, and you go sign this brethren to replace a ripe, getting into his own 2009 prime time Cristiano Ronaldo. You're going to replace this brethren with this brethren. So, of course, persons were asking questions. This is what I must say. Antonio Valencia was not your... To cut this short, I don't want this to be a lengthy eulogism, but I just wanted to say this because there are a lot of things that person... This is an underrated player that persons are not giving much credit. Because, see, Antonio Valencia is not the prototypical... Matter of fact, Antonio Valencia is not the modern day winger, basically. He was not that type of winger that cuts in and shoots on his stronger foot. Antonio Valencia was like a Manny Garrincha type of dribbler. He would come in, he's basically a right winger, right-footed right winger that would, you know, just unease the defender and then switch pace to the byline and get the crossing. That was Antonio Valencia's MO. My man was looking to do a bug sort of tricks. That was not Antonio Valencia. So when this bridging came to Manchester United, persons were asking, okay, I do everything this would have done step over in his life. But what did I just mention? I've just mentioned balance. Look at what Nani was known for, and look at Antonio Valencia. Of course, there are comparisons, but there is more contrast than comparisons when you come on to a player of Nani's stature and Antonio Valencia. The comparisons, which is similar, is that they are both wingers. Aside from that, they are, you know, black athletes. You could say that they're fast, but when it comes on to their style of play, how they portray themselves on a football pitch, it's very different. The good thing with Nani, though, is that he's very dimensional. It's very unpredictable with Nani, because Nani can do Nani has had the jack of all trades. He could basically cut in and take the shot, which he usually did, and he actually scored some long-range goals. But there are times he could actually beat the defender and go to the byline and get the cross, or he would go to the byline and fake the cross and, you know, do the chop and probably do a couple of step overs and put the ball in, or just go for goal with his left foot and right foot, because he could use both. But unfortunately, Antonio Valencia, that was not his strongest suit. That was not him. So he did what he was good at. He played to his strengths. Predictable, sure, but he was unstoppable at some point. So anyway, when he was signed for Manchester United, persons were not expecting this deal to go as planned as it relates. Because the persons were expecting the replacement of Ronaldo to be a player that plays like Ronaldo. But what I just said, balance. So Alex Ferguson knew that we had a Ronaldo type of player in the squad already in the name of Luis Nani. So he was not looking for a by-the-book, textbook replacement of Ronaldo. He wanted someone that was the polar opposite, that had defensive work rate, that could drop back, that was strong, athletic. Yes, me, not a person, you know, that looks to go for goal. A person that he's an old-fashioned winger. That was what Sir Alex Ferguson, at least I would have believed, was looking for. Nani had all of those already. He can cut in, he can be, you know, he can do his flair. We already had that. That was not what Sir Alex Ferguson was looking for when he signed Valencia. He knew the strengths, of course, through scouts of Valencia. So he had a scout report on Valencia. So he was not looking to get like a Ronaldo replacement to get like 30 or 40 goals. He wasn't even scoring 40 goals. That's a lie. He scored 42 goals in 07-08, and he got I think he got almost 30 in his second season. Not his strongest as his last season, but it was still good. So persons were expecting Antonio Valencia to probably hit them numbers and probably, you know, wear the number 7. But the point is this. So Alex Ferguson knew that, and that was not Antonio Valencia. He wanted more balance on the right hand side in comparison with the left hand side. So the left could be more attacking with Evra, the left back, and Nani or Giggs, who was somewhat playing as a left midfielder sometimes. Let's not refute that. He was playing left midfield sometimes. On the right hand side, you had the balance of Antonio Valencia, and of course, Luis Nani could do his thing on the right hand side. And he could drop back Antonio Valencia. That was like so he could drop back and put a shift in. So he had the defense work rate and of course the attacking work rate in one player. And he was no skinny youth as well. Tony Valencia was strong as hell. So having this player at Manchester United, so Alex Ferguson knew he had a good sign, although it wasn't a CR7 transfer. But anyway, aside from all of that, in his first season, he and Rooney had a good link up. You know, when Antonio Valencia was crossing the balls into the box, you know Rooney was going to get a header. Wayne Rooney was 5 foot, I don't even know his height now, probably the same. But at the time, in 2009, it was 5'9". This Bridging was scoring headers for fun. Mind you, this was the season where Rooney was getting... This was the season where Rooney was playing as the main striker. That was probably his first ever season playing as the main striker. So Alex Ferguson, not to get too tactical, but Sir Alex Ferguson, since 2006 to 2000 and I would say 2000, from 2006 to 2009, he used a 4-3-3 formation with three attackers. Because you have to understand, without getting lengthy, when Mourinho came to the Premier League with his 4-3-3 at Chelsea, my man didn't win the Premier League for 2 years or 3 years. I think it's 2 or 3 years. So when Mourinho came with the 4-3-3, the Premier League was changing. The 4-4-2 wasn't as effective, and so Sir Alex Ferguson couldn't use this one striker again with just Van Nistelrooy up top. So he wanted to make the attack more fluid and dimensional, interchangeable with the pace of Rooney, Ronaldo, of course, Luis Saha, Giggs. He could, So all of those players, and Alan Smith, who was somewhat mostly injured, but he could still play, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well. So all of those players, he wasn't using the one striker formation no more, or the 4-4-2. So when he switched to the 4-3-3, he won the Premier League for 2 straight seasons. No, actually 3 straight seasons. 06-07, 07-08, 08-09. And after that time, he went back and reverted back to the 4-2-3-1, which played with Saw Rooney as the main striker. Berbatov was, playing, but Berbatov was playing more behind Rooney. He was like the deep line, striker. So Rooney was getting the most of the goals, which he did. He got 34 goals that season, and he could have had more if it wasn't for his injury against Bayern Munich in that fixture. I think it was away. But anyway, Antonio Valencia was very dynamic on the right hand side. Now Valencia, like I just mentioned, in terms of his comparison with Nani or contrast with Nani, Antonio Valencia was not the type of winger. And this was nothing against Antonio Valencia. We knew that he was a limited good winger. We knew that. But the fact is that Antonio Valencia was not a winger that could play on the left hand side. He was not that strong with his dribbling enough to be playing on the left hand side as a right-footed winger. So he was more like Antonio Valencia, a direct type of dribbler and player. He's not going to be doing all of these tricks that's taking like 5 seconds. He's not that type of player. So he's going to do the first thing that he's known for is to run to the right wing, slow the attack down. He will do a few feints, don't get me wrong. He's done a few feints, but that's not in terms of like step over and that's not him. So he do a few feints and then go to the right to the byline and get the crossing, whether it's low cross or even a good cross in the air. And Rooney was getting them goals, man. It was like a good link up, man. And Valencia in his first season, Valencia was not a winger that got a lot of goals. He was good for assists. He was just good for work rate. He added a lot of balance on the right hand side with Gary Neville, who didn't play a lot of games, and West Brown or O'Shea that played as right back. Is me. So, and he could start in at right back as well. So we had more than just a winger in our squad. In our squad, as if I was a part of the managerial, duties of managing Manchester United that season. So the thing is that although we didn't win the Premier League that season, we still, in terms of our attack, we're still doing good. And again, more concentrating on Antonio Valencia. My man was doing his thing on the wing, man, killing players. In the following season, 2011, he was still doing his thing. I don't even think there was much criticism laid on the dude's shoulder of how he plays. Yes, you could say that he was predictable, one-dimensional, but there wasn't any destructive criticism based on how he plays or how he presented himself. Let me speak on Antonio Valencia's personal self. I don't know the dude personally, but most of us knew that Antonio Valencia was he's not a person that was media savvy or giving interviews. My man didn't even know English. He doesn't. When he left England, fast forwarding, I don't even think my man know to speak English, and I can't even speak English. So when Valencia is not, this person that's like up in the face of the camera. He's more of the laid-back type. My man know how to take his seat. I was just talking about Harry Maguire taking his back seat yesterday in my video. He knew how to take his back seat. He wasn't a one for talking. He was not. I think Sir Alex Ferguson said this in his autobiography or his biography, saying that Valencia was not talkative. They could say he was a shy introvert type. He did most of his talking on the football pitch. My man looked like Terminator in the face, but he was you could call him weird, but it wasn't weird. It's just that he was a quiet type of player when it comes down to his personality, how he presented himself with the other players. Like whenever he scored a goal, my man is not kicking it down the corner flag, doing whatever. He's not making a mockery of himself. He scored a goal, him drop back to the corner, back to the center circle, or he probably celebrate with his teammates by giving him a high five. But he's not a celebrating type of player when he score a goal, whether it's from the side of his foot, which he was very good at. He could score the goal with the side of his foot, and other stuff. He was just not that type of player that was just out and out. He wasn't a bossy player. He was just a humble, a proper youth that was built like a tank in Ukraine. So again, in his second season, his third season, he was still doing his thing. Even when Nani was declining, and I did a video on Nani's time at Manchester United. I'm probably going to leave one of the links in one of these corners. But even when Nani was declining, Antonio Valencia was still doing his thing. No, I wouldn't say Valencia was doing it at an optimum, premium, platinum level where he was just excelling every game. Antonio Valencia had his bad games. But the fact is that when it comes down to consistency, he was more consistent than Nani. With Nani, he was a hit and miss. You don't know what we're getting, whether it's cool or hot. Nani was very consistently inconsistent. You don't know what type of Nani you're getting in some of the games. With Valencia, yes, he's not going to be a flashy type. Yeah, he's a run hitter. He kicks the ball, run after it, or he just slows the game down and he does his thing, which is predictable, which we know him by. But he's still consistent, and he can still put defensive work in as well. And plus, if Nani and Valencia is playing, best believe that Nani is going to be more of the player that's got the more license to attack. But when it comes on to dropping back, that's where Valencia has more of the cards to drop back. Not because of his physique, but he's better defensively. He has better work rate and better stamina as well. And that is not Nani. Nani can drop back. Yes, he has dropped back, but with Valencia, that was what Alex Ferguson wanted 2 seasons prior, which he did get. Is a player that had balance, that can go back and go, attack. A fluid player. Box the box even. Box the box win. No, in his 3rd season, wait, it was 09, 010, 09, 010, 11. Oh, in his 4th season, which was the season where we won the Premier League, Antonio Valencia was given the number 7 because Michael Owen was given the number 7 for some reason, and he retired in 2012 when we didn't win the league that season. Antonio Valencia was given, in the upcoming season, my man was given the number 7. Now, this is where expectations are heated up, because the number 7, as we Manchester United supporters know, is not an everyday average, number. The number 7 is very historic when it comes down to Manchester United. And the fact is this, and this is nothing against Antonio Valencia. When Manchester United gave Antonio Valencia the number 7, that was basically them saying that this is the type of player that represents the number 7. Look through history of the number 7s that play for Manchester United. They were all world class. Bob Robson, I think he played with Bob Robson, I think he was a number 7, wasn't he? George Best was definitely a number 7. David Beckham was definitely a number 7. Eric Cantona was definitely a number 7. The last best number 7, as we know, is Cristiano Ronaldo. That was the last great number 7 that graced the number 7 for Manchester United. So when he left Manchester United, it's not like anybody can just sign in and say, okay, I'm going to take this number 7. Like it's just a bag of nuts. No. You have to work. You have to earn that number 7. That number 7 is more in line with the wingers, or, you midfielders like Beckham or Brian Robson, if he had the number 7. I'm not sure exactly. The point is this. When Valencia was given the number 7 that season, this was Manchester United saying that this is the expectation. This is the I can't even, where's the word I'm looking for? The representation of what the number 7 is like. And as much as, and I don't think no one hates Antonio Valencia, but we were objective and objective enough to know, said this Bridget should not be wearing the number 7. Yes, he's been doing his good things, but he's not good enough to be wearing the number 7. And even Valencia, after that season, after winning the Premier League because of Robin van Persie at Manchester United, he knew that the number 7 was too much for his shoulders to bear. He knew the expectations were heavy when it comes down to the number 7. So out of humility, my man he reverted back to his number 25. Nothing is not wrong with that. He went back to his number 25 because the number 7 was too much, you could say unrealistic. It was too much up in the heavens for my man to just wear. It was just not Antonio Valencia. He didn't look proper in the number 7. He just didn't look proper in the number 7. So he just say, yo, I'm gonna put back this number 7 into the legendary museum room and lock it up because this number 7 is not for me. That's what he was well, I haven't heard it, but you could basically say that was the thought he had with himself, the self-talk he had with himself. He said he probably knew that the number 7 was not for him, and we fans knew that anyway. But as things went to progress, Antonio Valencia, you could notice Antonio Valencia was getting thicker and bulkier. Was that to say that his style of play was changing, or he was more maturing, or he was more adapting to the physical nature of the Premier League? One could argue that, one could debate that. But basically, with the coming in of Van Gaal wanted to play a 3 at the back system, or a 3-5-2 system, something thereabout. So he wanted his wing backs to be attacking and defensive. We had Raphael, as much as we loved Raphael wasn't no physical force to be. He wasn't physical Although not saying that you have to be physical to be good in that position, but Van Gaal wanted Antonio Valencia to be rooted in that position. So anyway, Valencia was more, he reverted to a right wing back. And he wasn't bad playing there. He's gotten a few assists. I remember when my man killed one of the Liverpool defenders, solid him, put the ball through his legs. Give him a ballad and put the ball into the box and give Rooney to finish it against Liverpool. I think it was in November of 2014 or December 2014. But it was for 2014-2015 season. But yeah, Antonio Valencia, I'll say this, he was not as electric as his first couple seasons, Antonio Valencia, but he was more physical, he was more defensive, but he was not as attacking or even as electric in terms of his style of play. And yeah, so the thing is that although person was saying, okay, we know what he's going to bring back the ball, he's going to probably come back. No, this is one of the things that frustrated me about Antonio Valencia and probably frustrated a few other fans. When Valencia is like, when he's running on the right wing, because he plays right wing, he doesn't play left wing, he slows down the attack. That is frustrating for any striker. If you have the ball on the right flank, there is few defenders in the box, you're a striker, you're waiting for a cross, and this winger on the right hand side has slowed down the attack, and my man is looking to pass it back to his right back. That's frustrating. That's going to get you. That's frustrating. Particularly if you're running from the other box to the other box to go score as a strike. So there were times Antonio Valencia, when he was, attacking, my man would slow down the attack and look for a right back to pass it in, or the right side of midfielder to pass it in, so the right side midfielder put the ball into the box at the far post or something. So that was like one of the disadvantages of his game, because yes, he was very predictable, but the fact is that when he pulled the ball back, he slowed down the attack. You could see that even Rooney was getting frustrated sometimes. Like, put the ball inside, but put the ball inside. Put the ball inside. I think he didn't have much of a good relationship with his players, and that's due to the language barrier. But my man could have learned English, man. My man was making enough money to take an English course or something. So that was much of an excuse. But he used his talent on the pitch to speak for himself. He didn't have to prove himself to anybody. He knew what he was good at and he utilized it, which I respected about the brethren. Now, in wrapping up, let's look at the last stages of Antonio Valencia at Manchester United. Persons wanted this brethren sold. They were saying, okay, Valencia is not a bad player, but he's not a good. He's not a good player, but he's average. He's just warm. It's like lukewarm water. You don't know if it's cold or hot. He's just in the middle. He's in the grey area. But this brethren, he's not exceptional. This brethren can't pass a player. This brethren is just this bulk up brethren that lives in the gym with a gym membership. He's not even that fast as he used to be. He can't even beat a player. He can probably put a ball in, and if he's putting a ball in, it's always them low crosses. Persons were criticizing Antonio Valencia, saying that they didn't want this brethren still at Manchester United. And dare I say, there were times, going back to frustration, there were times where Valencia was not, good. He wasn't having good games. And, that was where Manchester United was crying out for a right winger. That's when that's when we were crying out for a right winger. Because we knew that Valencia was at the same player that used to just be electric on the right wing, just beating players and putting the ball in one time. He was not that player. We noticed that, and we knew that. So yes, it's good that he was bulking up and getting big muscles like Batista. But he was not effective in certain crucial games. And that is why some United fans wanted him out. I think some may even racially abuse the brethren. But even amidst all of that, Antonio Valencia was just a humble brethren, man. He was not person to just come out and say, screw you Man United fans that used to have my back in my best years now. it's not my not my best years, but no, you know, he wasn't like that. He was just doing this thing. Like I said, he was like a box seat type of player. Isn't me? If you guys were driving and you had a couple of players, you like Anderson or Rooney and Valencia, my man would take the back seat. My man don't want to sit in the front seat, man. That's not him. So in the last stages, he actually became a captain. Rooney left, and we had a captain. And Valencia, it's funny how Valencia was made captain, because Valencia is not that vocal. That's number one. Number two, he doesn't speak English. Number three, has Valencia ever shown captain characteristics? Yes, but it's not much to deem him as captain material. The few captain traits I've seen is that he takes initiative in terms of like going to the gym and training. He does his thing personal. Probably when persons are seen, they're saying, I need to come off of my phone, I need to come off of my phone and start training too. So he's setting an example. But when it comes on the pitch, if you guys are down, is this Bridging going to be around? Is he going to be vocal in helping the players to come back from 1-0 down to win the game 2-1 or 3-1 or whichever the scoreline is? So persons were skeptical. Okay, number one, person wanted this Bridging sold. Number two, he's going to be captain. What number three is going to be? He's going to be a legend at Manchester United. But amidst all that, man, when he was made captain, he wasn't doing bad. He was playing as a right. He was a certified right back right now. He was a certified right back. Isn't me? Because right now we're seeing that he was not as effective as attacking, but he still was good when he was attacking. But it wasn't good as his younger days or his younger years at Manchester United, or hell, even at Wigan Athletic. So he was a certified right back right now. That was his main MO. That was his bread and butter. So even though he could still do his thing, attacking, he was not doing much of that. He was more of a right back. Now, here's the point. He was still decent. He was starting games. He could still cross. He could still beat players, although he was bulky. So even the captain, even persons respected him in the squad. No person muttered a bad word against the youth. When he scored, I think when he scored that world-class beater with the outside of his foot against Everton at home in fall of 2017, persons were like, say, yo, a good goal at man. My man was just like, and celebrating. My man wasn't celebrating like he won the World Cup in 2010 or 2014. He celebrated the goal, humbly. He was a humble brethren. There were a few times he scored a goal with his left foot. Who knew Antonio Valencia could have scored a goal with his left foot? And he scored a goal with his left foot. Because most persons know that Antonio Valencia is not a goal scorer to begin with. So the fact that my man is going for goal would have meant something. Say something is up. The jig is up. Something is definitely going to happen. So when Valencia is going for goal, so we need a goal. Because this dude is not a goal scorer by any means. So yeah, there were times he would score goals. But this is about him as a player, his character, his time at Manchester United. And this is where I'm at, because I don't want this to be very long. How would one sum up Antonio Valencia's time at Manchester United? The same way they would sum up Jason Park's time at Manchester United. I haven't seen much of Jason Park at Manchester United, so I can't really do a video on that, because I would have done it already if I have seen much of him, but I haven't. But Valencia would be in the same bracket or the same category as Jason Park. Jason Park wasn't abrasive, this show-off player. He knew what type of work to do, and he did it. He was a disciplined player. He was not abrasive like your nannies or Cristiano Ronaldo. Just like Antonio Valencia, he was a disciplined player, which meant that without the ball, my man had to go drop back, because he had stamina and he could actually tackle. So he wasn't like this sloppy slacker that is up in the attack and the opposition is attacking us, and my man is still up in the penalty box, he would drop back and defend. He was disciplined. He would be given instructions what to do. That again, my man is in that same category with Jason Park. Is me. So how I would sum up Antonio Valencia's time at Manchester United was that he would never be seen as a great, like, he would not be in the category of like a Rooney or a Scholes or a Giggsy. But his contribution to Manchester United since 2009 to 2019, he left. Yeah, he left in 2019. Is still it should be memorable and admirable. Again, Antonio Valencia has never complained. I've never heard this person complain, never, about his game time, where he's playing. Cause see, even me, and there are persons that play football that even don't play professionally, we don't like when a manager plays us out of position where we're not as effective. But Sir Alex Ferguson saw something in Antonio Valencia, and other managers that followed suit knew that Antonio Valencia had different things in his locker box that he could unfold on the football pitch. He could defend. He was physical enough. Again, this is not even new. In the final against Barcelona in 2011, my man was a defending right back. He could not attack. He literally could not attack. Basically, Manchester United in that final against Barcelona, everyone was behind the ball. I think that was one of the very few games where Sir Alex Ferguson was actually defensive. We could not play football against Barcelona. If we play Barcelona football, they're going to trash us. Sir Alex Ferguson knew that. That's why Berbatov didn't play, because it was more defensive and tactful. Second, that's why Nani didn't even start, because he didn't want that flashy. He wanted the game to be defensive. Jason Park started, Michael Carrick started. So Antonio Valencia had to be defensive with other players. That's why he started. He had that work ethic, and that has shown throughout the seasons. Even when he wasn't in good, he didn't have much of a good season. He still showed strength of character, what he was made of. Again, this Bridget never complained. He was never pushing for a move out. One could argue that the reason why he didn't push out because he knew that he wouldn't get a better club than Manchester United, which is a good point. But the point is that even if he wanted to play football for his sanity, because persons wanted him out, he didn't even do that. He stayed. And he's a great, I wouldn't say he's in the Hall of Fame for Manchester United. Let's get that clear. But what he has accomplished, Antonio Valencia, he didn't replace Ronaldo. Let me play that. We need to come to grips with that right now. He did not replace Cristiano Ronaldo in 2009. This was a signing that, again, as I mentioned, was supposed to give balance to the right-hand side and let Nani and Giggs rule the left wing, along with Evra and whoever else was playing as left back, whether they were attacking, something to work out on the left-hand side. But with the right-hand side, Sir Alex Ferguson wanted more balance, more stability, more defensive work rate on that side. That's why Jason Park played on the right side sometimes, to accommodate sometimes with the aging Gary Neville, or sometimes with the slow but very good John O'Shea or West Brown, because West Brown is a centre back and he was playing at right back sometime, or even with Owen Hargreaves. You see me? So that was where the switch was flipped. But Antonio Valencia at Manchester United, I'll say this, and I actually rate the dude. He was a great servant for Manchester. I'm not saying that to belittle him or disparage him. So, oh, you're a servant, you do what you were told. No, he did what he was told, but he was still a strong character in his humble self. And that was probably one of the reasons why Jose Mourinho appointed this brethren as captain Although person may say, well, how is he's not that vocal? How is he going to communicate or verbalize his message to the other players around? Person saw Antonio Valencia. Person saw the character of Antonio Valencia and followed suit. You don't have to verbalize something. Well, you need to verbalize if things are going wrong on the football pitch, but as it relates to, how you're supposed to be as a player, things being disciplined. Antonio Valencia was kicking it in the gym, man. He was just a workforce in the gym. And that is something that's admirable. My man was not taking selfie or showing off his abs, although he had strong, hardcore abs. He wasn't doing that. He was just doing his thing in the gym. He lived a simple life. He was not on social media all the time. He played his football. He looked at the bigger picture. He had more than tunnel vision. And that was his basic description and depiction of himself. He was not a flashy person. So yes, he is a great for Manchester United. By the string of it, I'll never say he's a convincing great. Like this is the first name that's going to come to your mind when you think of the great players that played at Manchester United. That's like a second tier up under Hall of Fame, like Rooney's, Bob Robson, Scholes, Giggs, Bobby Charlton, of course, etc. He's like in the third tier. He's been good, great servant, great player. He's in that third tier in terms of greatness for Manchester United. He was never a flop. Never. Not even in his worst games he was ever a flop. He was consistent. Never laid a complaint on the shoulder of the manager. So with that being said, there are some things we need to learn from Antonio Valencia as a player and as a person. I do everything. I can't even recall the last time he got recorded. Antonio Valencia. Was he ever recorded? Was he one to get up in a player's face if he was like wrongly fouled? No, my man could probably give you a fist to your face, but he knew his moments. He knew his moments. He was a warrior. That's something I should have made. He was a warrior. This Brethren played with one eye shut in a game against Bayer Leverkusen in the 13th-14th season, showing off his biceps. This dude was a certified warrior. So even though he was not very vocal, like person thought he was just a muscled up sheep, this dude was a warrior in his own humble self. And that's something we need to take from the page of Antonio Valencia. Be humble sometimes. Not to be this pacifying person, but be humble but assertive if you need to. Antonio Valencia had the right balance. This is me. And that is how I saw his Manchester United. Leave your comments down below in the comment section. Of course, if Manchester United is having a game this week, I'll probably try to do a brief preview. Is me, because Manchester United ain't playing this week. It's international break. I don't know where my head is at. So yes, I'll probably do another video probably on Sunday. We'll see. But stay tuned. Leave your comments down below. Share your thought on how you would remember Antonio Valencia. Like and subscribe to the channel. I'm out.